off.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Fred Bergeron, and with me today, I have a very special guest. I have Will Roberts, who is running for Volusia County Tax Collector. And before I bring him in, I'm going to give you a little bit of history about Will. He's spent 7 years at the Volusia County Revenue Division, and they're all 7 years as a corrections officer in Volusia and Seminole counties, and 7 years in the Air Force serving domestically and abroad. He is a Florida certified assistant tax collector. He has a master's degree in public administration from Nova Southern University, a bachelor's degree in business management from UCF, an associate's degree from Daytona State University. He's been a Volusia County resident for 20 years. He's married to Jennifer Roberts, who I've had the privilege of meeting as well, for 18 years. He has two children, Carlina and Eldon. Carlina's 14 and Eldon is 11. His parents are Carl and Estella Roberts, who are also Volusia County residents and have been for 14 years. And he has a mother-in-law, Paula Morton, who's been a Volusia County resident for 35 years. So please let me introduce my friend and political candidate for tax collector, Will Roberts. Hello, Will.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be on your show.
Thank you, and thank you for reaching out to me to be on it.
Yes, sir.
So to get started, Will, we know a little bit about your history. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so absolutely. As you mentioned, I've spent 7 years in the Revenue Division, which will be the tax collector's office. So a part of that is I've been the property tax lead for the 4 of those years. And what that means is I've been responsible for more than $680 million in revenue annually, bringing in the property tax, billing, collecting it, and distributing it to our 47 different taxing authorities and 171 different levying authorities. So that's where the experience comes in. We're going to need experience in this position. We haven't had an elected tax collector here in Volusia County in 50 years. When we enacted our home rule charter way back in 1970, there was a specific paragraph in there that abolished the elected tax collector position. And since that point, it's been an appointed county employee. Now, the home rule charter it did its purpose. It provided collaboration of county services, and all the constitutional officers were under that. They weren't considered constitutional officers, but they were a part of the county charter. Now, because of Amendment 10, it mandates that each county in the state of Florida have 5 constitutional officers, tax collector being one of those, but the others are the supervisor of elections, the clerk of the circuit court, the sheriff, and the property appraiser. So now those are all constitutional officer positions, meaning they're all going to be separate from the county. So what we're doing, we're electing our first elected tax collector in 50 years, and what that means is that there's going to be more accountability to the citizens. As an appointed county employee, there's been a buffer in between the Revenue Division and the constituents or residents and the citizens and the Volusia County taxpayers. Now, with an elected position, we can be completely accountable, and we can provide a little bit better and different services, because as an appointed county employee, we weren't able to provide services like driver's licenses, concealed weapons permits, and the birth certificates. Did I say that? Birth certificates, concealed weapons permits, and driver's licenses. So we weren't able to provide those services because we weren't an elected constitutional officer position. So if you wanted to get your driver's license, you had to go to a state office, which we have 2 state offices here in Volusia County. We have one in Orange City and one in South Daytona. But if you've noticed, if you've had to renew your driver's license within the last few months, the state offices were actually closed from like March to June, and then they reopened and then they had to close down again because they were having complications with COVID. So people had to go outside of Volusia County to get that service taken care of. So it's going to be a great service and opportunity to provide better service for the citizens, the residents, and the taxpayers of Volusia County. And I'm definitely looking forward to being able to provide that service and being able to collaborate and put all those services under one roof. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, well, and I can relate because I had to do something with my driver's license, and
Right.
I had to call the state office several times, and then they sent me the flag and they says, "Well, you live in Ormond Beach, you live in Volusia County," so
Yeah.
it was a whole back and forth thing before I could
Right.
ever get it straightened out. I says, "And I'm an essential employee." I said, I've got to have my
Yeah.
car."
Right.
So it finally took me getting about 3 people up to finally get someone to listen to
Right.
me and do something about it. So
I
it
know.
was a pain. I mean, I can't really say it was a lot of their fault. It's just it was bad timing.
Right.
Is really all that was. You know, they were told by the governor to shut down,
Right.
so that's what they had to do. It was just a little bit of an inconvenience, but we got it straightened out. You know, so
Right.
explain to us, well, why are we electing a tax collector in Volusia County?
Well, and we had, so in 2018, the Constitutional Revision Committee decided to make it mandatory that all 67 counties have the same 5 elected officers, the constitutional officers. And what people don't realize is that this was actually a big push by the Florida Sheriff's Association, because they had 66 of the 67 counties in the state of Florida that had an elected sheriff. Miami-Dade has an appointed sheriff. So they were wanting to make it an even playing field for the whole entire state. So actually the Florida Sheriff's Association was the biggest push for this change, for this amendment, to make it happen to where we had the 5 elected constitutional offices in the state of Florida. Now, and what's interesting is that there's 64 of the 67 counties in the state of Florida that had an elected tax collector. Volusia County, Miami-Dade, and Broward County were the only 3 counties that did not have an elected tax collector. So Amendment 10 got passed by the Volusia County voters, more than 50%, and the state of Florida, more than 60%, which mandated those 5 constitutional officer positions. Now, what's interesting about that change is that we have to do our elected constitutional officers this year, and Miami-Dade and Broward have another 4 years before they elect their first elected constitutional officers. So it's been an interesting process. I thought it was interesting when I originally started with the county in 2004. I thought it was interesting that we didn't have an elected tax collector here in Volusia County, and I felt that at the time, even though it was a long time ago, if the opportunity arose that we did ever elect a tax collector, I would run.
Okay, well, good. Yeah, because I remember when I first met you and you said, "I'm Will Roberts and I'm running for Volusia County Tax." I was like, "Oh, there is such a thing." And I remember
Right.
as we became friends, you kind of slowly educated me on that.
Right.
So, what are the top 3 reasons why you should win this election, Will?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So experience definitely is the key, because we are building this up from the ground. It's going to take somebody with experience. So one of the things that is interesting about going out from underneath the umbrella of the county is that we have to renegotiate all our contracts with all our third-party vendors, or any vendor that we have a contract with is currently with the county. So what we have to do is renegotiate those contracts. So what is that going to take? Somebody with experience to be able to take care of that. Now, one of the priorities when I get into the office is budget, because we're going to have to work with our budget that the county is going to give us this year, because so this is a change. This is one of the changes that's going to happen, is that we have to start reporting to the state of Florida. So we're going to be responsible to the Florida Department of Revenue instead of the county, because right now we go through the county for our budget and we have to have it approved and stuff like that. Now we're going to have to go through the state to get that approved, and they're going to be responsible for taking care of that for us and approving that for us. So, and one of those things, one of the parts of the changes is that right now, when the revenue division collects the taxpayer money, they put it straight into the general fund. That's because we're a part of the county, and so as of a part of the accounting, that's going to change. There's going to be a shift. Now the tax collector is going to collect all the money. It's going to be held by the tax collector, and then the county is going to be one of the other taxing authorities that we provide the information to them and pay them their money just like anybody else. Because currently they get the money in the general fund and they use that to operate as they should, but now it's going to be a shift. And the tax collector's office is actually going to be responsible for that and getting it out to the 47 different taxing authorities and the 171 levying authorities. Now, one of the differences about this is that we will have the opportunity to invest that money, and there is, we have to follow Florida statutes. The Florida statute is very specific about how it has to be invested, and it has to be safe and secure, and it has to be quickly accessible.
Okay. Well, that's nice to know. And
Yeah.
talk about some of the differences between you and your opponent.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So here's the biggest difference is that I work for you. I already work for you. So I'm already collecting the taxes, but as far as we'll say campaign finance, I work for you because I've gotten 80% of my campaign donations right here in Volusia County, residents, business owners, right here in Volusia County. Now the 20% that's outside of Volusia County are good family and good friends. Some of my friends and family that used to live in Volusia County and just moved away. Now, on the other hand, my opponent has 97% of his contributions coming from political action committees, which are his political buddies in Tallahassee, and special interest. Now, when I talk about special interest, what I'm talking about is one family in South Florida that owns the 3 private tag agencies here in Volusia County that want to do business with the tax collector's office. Now, I've actually been approached by special interest groups that wanted to give me a campaign donation, but I told them no thank you, because I didn't think it was the right thing to do, because they could potentially get a contract with the tax collector's office, and I didn't feel that was ethically responsible. Now, he says that he didn't ask Volusia County voters for money because of COVID. But the fact is, he got more than $20,000 from those political action committees and the special interest before mid-January. So he filed in the middle of December, and by mid-January, he had already $20,000. So what that says to me is that he's not going to work for the Volusia County residents. He's going to work for the special interest and the people that his political buddies. So he talks about having business skills to do this job that qualifies him to do this job. But the fact is, he owned a real estate construction business called D-Max Construction from 2005 to 2007. He owned a parcel that he was developing, and he actually got it subdivided into 7 parcels in the 2007 tax year. But all 3 of those tax years went delinquent, and went delinquent to the point where it went to tax certificate sale. So a tax certificate was sold on all 3 tax years for the parcels that he owned for that company. Now, the first year, he didn't even pay the taxes. The title company paid the taxes. The only year that they actually paid the taxes on that property was 2006. And of course, it was already delinquent by that point. In 2007, the bank, his mortgager, actually paid the taxes, and they had already gone delinquent. Now, the other part of that process is that the property was foreclosed upon by the mortgager. So my question to the voters of Volusia County, Do you want somebody that's in the tax collector's office that can't pay their taxes, couldn't even pay their mortgage? I don't feel that that's the right fit for this position if you can't even pay your own taxes. So he says he's going to be an effective leader, but the fact is that he doesn't know anything about the office. And the thing is, he could know a lot more by this point because he filed in December, and there's most of the information's out there. But that's the thing, he hasn't even done his research to even know more about this position, which tells me he's not even going to try to lead. He's just going to have his staff do all the work, which is not what we want. I consider myself a servant leader. I like to do the things. I would never ask my employees to do something I'm not willing to do myself. And I'll give this example. When I was working for the Seminole County Sheriff's Office, I was in a leadership class with 30 other people. And by lunchtime, we had one trash can, and by lunchtime, that trash can was overflowing. So I cleaned out the trash, took out the trash and threw it out, and didn't think of anything about it. But I did that for the 3 days that we were there, so that we could have an empty trash can for the second half of the day. And I never am above doing the things that my employees are doing. So I am always willing to do the things. I'm willing to. One of my favorite quotes is from John Maxwell. You got to know the way, show the way, and then go the way. So I love that quote, and that's the first part of that is that you got to know the way, and unfortunately my opponent doesn't know the way. The newest person in the tax office or the tag office, they know more about tax collection than my opponent. So is he going to have the respect of those employees that he would take over? No, he wouldn't, because he would be learning from them. So the other thing is that he says he has the relationships to make this transition. The fact is he keeps getting making a mistake about who runs the driver's license office. He was quoted in the News Journal as saying that the Florida Department of Transportation issues driver's licenses, which is incorrect. It's the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. So, I already have the relationships. I've got the relationships with the county leadership. I've got the relationships with the Florida Department of Revenue. I've got the relationships with the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. And, I've got the relationships with all our vendors. And, I know the customer service expectations coming in. And that's the thing. We're going to need to have somebody in this position where if you call up the tax collector's office and you talk to the tax collector, or if the tax collector's in meetings with other leaders of the county, you need to be able to answer the questions. And we don't have that time to be able to on the job train while we're doing this transition, because we're going to have less than 6 months. From August 19th to January 5th is less than 6 months. We have to have somebody in this position that has experience, because there is so much work that's going to have to be done in less than 6 months that even with all my experience, it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah, and I would imagine something like that's not easy. And I follow John Maxwell exclusively, Will, so I'm familiar with that. I'm familiar with that saying. Now, let me ask you this: what's the tax collector? And isn't there a tax commissioner also?
No, there's probably what you're closely referring to is the property appraiser.
Okay.
So the property appraiser, we work closely with the property appraiser all the time. And the reason we do that is because they give us all the information for the property tax. There's 300,000 parcels for property tax in Volusia County. So they give us all that information, and we exchange information back and forth all the time. So it's good to have a good relationship with the property appraiser's office, which I do, and I speak to them usually on a daily basis because there's stuff that we're trying to work out or they're trying to work out, and they call me up and try to find out more information about property tax, or they forward me an email about property tax, or I forward them an email about an exemption. So we're always conversing back and forth and trying to get everybody up to speed, because that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing that I've noticed since I've been in the tax office is that, per Florida statute, it is up to the taxpayer and the parcel owner to know when the taxes are due, and that it's their responsibility to make sure that the taxes are paid and paid timely. Now, one of the things that I've tried ever since I started as the property tax lead, what my goal has always been is accurate information. So if I get return mail, I don't technically have to do anything with that. The return mail, I can just throw it away if that's what I wanted to do. But that's not what I wanted to do. What I want to do is get everybody compliant, get everybody's address up to date as much as possible. So, I've taken proactive steps to try to reach out to people and get them updated for their change of address. And we're actually have a new thing that we've added within the last 4 years is called Bill Express. And what it is it sends you an email or an e-bill whenever there's something due for that parcel. So it's like getting a bill in your email instead of getting it by mail. Well, we always do it in addition to what you get in the mail, but we find that if you move physical locations, usually your email address will stay the same. So that's an easier way to keep in contact.
Yeah.
Because when you move, you usually keep your same email address. So that's going to be easier for people to keep in contact with us and realize that, oh yeah, I moved. I need to update my information with them because it's still got the old address on there, but it will be emailed to them, so they'll get it. And one thing that we recently added was we added this feature to business tax receipts. So now you can get your business tax receipt via email. So that's one of the things that we're trying to innovate, and we try to keep up to date, and we try to get people information as easily as possible. So it's definitely interesting. This is definitely exciting. One of the exciting things for me as far as information goes is that we'll have control over our public information. So right now the county is in control of that. And, we're described as the revenue division. And as I mentioned, 64 of the 67 counties in the state of Florida are described as a tax collector. So if you move from another county in the state of Florida and you move here to Volusia County, you're going to be looking for the tax collector's office. And it's currently listed under the revenue division under the county, because you have to go to the county website and then you have to look for us under the divisions. And then if you're not looking for the right thing, because we are described as revenue division. Now we do have out in parentheses tax collection, so that may make it a little easier. But then we're going to have control over that as the tax collector. We're going to have control over that information. So we're going to be able to push information out. We're going to be able to have a Facebook page. We're going to be able to have an Instagram page, all on our own, and we'll be able to push information out there to a lot of people. And one of the things I do want to mention is that what we found out when we were out getting petitions and talking to voters is that a lot of people didn't know a lot about the tax collector's office and what we do in the office. So what we made it a priority was that we started a Tax Tip Tuesday video series for our Facebook and YouTube, and we started telling people more about the process, which was, I believe, it's invaluable information that the more you educate the public about the process, the more they can make an educated decision on how to pay their taxes and when to pay their taxes and what's going on in the office, as far as property taxes or business tax receipts, tourist development tax, anything that's going on in the office. And the more they know about the process, then more educated decision they can make, which I'm looking forward to being able to push that information out and push more information and get it to them quickly and being in control of that information. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to it.
And that's why I think you and I got to be good friends, because we have similar concepts. Like I don't call myself a real estate agent. I call myself a real estate educator, just
Right.
for the same reasons you said. People need to know what they're getting into when they're going to make the biggest purchase in their life. So
Right.
I can relate to that. And just to get the record straight, based on what you just said, you work with the tax appraiser. You're not running against the tax appraiser, correct?
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
Just wanted to make sure our audience knew that. And the other question I have, Will, is will having an elected tax collector mean fees will increase for our citizens?
Now, what's going to change about that is that it's going to so right now, for instance, we're under the umbrella of the county, so it's going to look different is the best way to describe it. So right now, the money, when we collect it, it all goes into the general fund, and the general fund is paying all the county employees. So IT, HR, accounting, all the facilities people, they're all broad banded. So they work for the revenue division, but they could be also like IT, for instance. IT, we have a person that's assigned to us, but that person is also assigned to the jail. So they've got multiple people that they're responsible for, or multiple divisions that they're responsible for. And the accounting serves the whole county. HR serves the whole county, and facilities serves the whole county. So there's not a specific line item for revenue division in each one of those broadband services that the county provides. Now, what's going to happen is that we're the tax collector is now going to be responsible for that. And my plan is to keep using the facilities from the county and the county IT, county accounting, and the county HR, because I feel that right now in this transition, that's the most efficient and effective way to make the transition and keep taxpayer liability down, and not putting a whole lot of price, or not costing the taxpayers more money is what my goal is. I'm trying to be fiscally conservative in this transition. I don't want to cost taxpayers more money. Now, what it's going to look like is it's going to look a little different, because the accounting is going to be different. So what that means is the tax collector is now going to pay for those services out of their revenue. So as they're collecting money, as I mentioned, we're going to be investing that as well, but we're also going to be paying each line item. So for instance, facilities, we're going to have a facilities line item. We're going to have an IT line item. We're going to have an accounting line item. We're going to have an HR line item. So it's just going to be accounted for a little bit differently, but we're going to be offering the same services, and hopefully it's not going to increase taxpayer expense, because that's the biggest thing. And I will mention that we did see this in Seminole County, where Seminole County elected a tax collector without tax collection experience, and then he turned around and spent like $3.5 million of taxpayer money trying to learn, quote unquote, how to do his job. And part of those people that he was contracting with was friends and family, and there's just no room for that here in Volusia County, and we just can't afford that. For one, I am not going to be spending $3.5 million of taxpayer money trying to learn how to do my job. Absolutely not.
Right. I like that. And now, as a new department, how will you build relationships with others in leadership positions, such as constitution officers, etc.?
Yeah, and that's the great thing, is that I've got most of those relationships already made. So I've got a relationship with the county manager. I've talked with him. He's willing to work with me on this transition, and he mentioned that the county wants us to be successful, and that's a great feeling, that the county's willing to work with us and make us successful in this transition. And then I got a relationship with all the other constitutional officers that by the way were just recently reelected. And I will mention this about the other constitutional officers real quick, is that all the other constitutional officers, the other four, the property appraiser, for instance, Larry Bartlett, had 33 years of experience and 7 years of experience on the Value Adjustment Board before he was elected in 2016. And by the way, all four were reelected without opposition. And so what I'm trying to portray here is that this is a professional position, and that all constitutional offices are professional positions. So the sheriff, he had years, decades and decades of law enforcement experience before he was elected in 2016. And then the clerk of the circuit court, Laura Roth, she was in the office. She's actually got a Juris Doctorate, and she spent more than 10 years in the clerk's office before being elected in 2016. Lisa Lewis spent more than 10 years in the supervisor of elections office before she was elected in 2016. So, and I've got a relationship with all those people, and we've got a good relationship going. So we've already cemented that. I've got the relationships with the Florida Department of Highway and Safety Motor Vehicles, the Florida Department of Revenue we talk to often, and then who we're going to be responsible for getting our budget to, and then I've got the support and advice from elected tax collectors throughout the state of Florida. So I've already got those relationships with the appropriate people and all the vendors that we work with. So I've already got those customer service expectations for the vendors and information like that. So I'm looking forward to making new relationships with new people, people that we're going to be dealing with in the future. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm sure there's more people that we've got to that's going to change, and we're going to add people to that circle, and I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah, great. Well, now once the tax money is collected, what happens next, and what are your responsibilities?
So yeah, and as I've been mentioning a couple of times already on the investment part, so here's the path. What happens? So the taxing authorities, which they're actually in this process right now, they're working out the levy, and what the millage and the levying authorities are working out how much they're going to charge this year, and then they give all that information to the property appraiser. The property appraiser is going to send out the trim notices actually this month soon, and then we'll get an idea of what our 2020 tax year bill is going to be. And then they give all that information to us, and then we bill it and collect it in November. So the bill will go out in November, we bill it, collect it, and then what we have to do in the meantime is we have to invest it in the short time that we have it. So once we start the distribution process, what we do is in November and December, we have to do it every 2 weeks. And then once those 2 months are done, we do it once a month up until November again. Then when November starts over again, we do it every 2 weeks. But the biggest responsibility is billing it, collecting it, and then distributing it to the appropriate authorities.
Well, that's nice to know. And do you feel the current technology used in the office is adequate, or will it need to be upgraded?
And actually COVID actually has helped us realize some ways we could improve in the future. And one of the things that we are updating as far as in the system for like the tag offices, we're getting a Qmatic system. It's a Q system that we're going to be able to text you information and text you your appointment and text you when it's time to come in. So you can actually check in via your phone. And then when we're ready for you, we'll text you and let you know. And then you can just stay in your car until that's time. Because right now, I will mention that we do have, like in DeLand, we have you lining up outside. And, during these hot days or during the day when it's starting to rain, that's not very convenient. So if we can get to the process where we can get you to where you can stay safe in your car and your vehicle and stay cool, especially during during the hot days of August, will be providing much better customer service. What I keep teasing the ladies that are out there working, and I'm like, I'm still waiting on those fans with the misters like they have at Disney.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but yeah, it's our technology is really good. Our database vendor is actually very, very good and very adept and very knowledgeable and very proactive, because they did see opportunities when COVID came around to try to add some new systems and add new features to where it makes it easier and more convenient to pay online. And we're working with them to try to get those in improved and get them out to the customers and get them working, because we're, as far as driver's licenses and tags and stuff like that, sometimes there's a lot of paperwork that has to be turned in each time something happens, like if a title's being changed or something like that. There's a lot of paperwork that has to be turned in, or if you're changing over tag. Well, what they're working on is stuff to where that we can get the paperwork ahead of time and get it scanned and put in, and then that way all you have to do is show up and then make a payment, and we can get you in and out a lot quicker. So they're actually on the forefront of trying to make it easier and more customer service friendly to try to get you in the office, get you out, and less face-to-face contact, and less waiting around and less dealing with more paperwork. And we're working on it. The database vendor that we have currently is very proactive and very hardworking on trying to make it very customer service friendly and get them in, get them out, and get them done. So I'm pleased in that respect, and I'm happy that we're able to provide like the Qmatic system. Actually, the Qmatic system came about through COVID, the CARES Act, or special funding through COVID relief stuff through the county, because we've wanted one of those systems for like the last 3 or 4 years, and we've put it as a request in our budget. But unfortunately, some things just don't always make it in the budget, because we have to do the best with what we can. We sometimes have to do more with less, and unfortunately that's been one of the things that's been on the chopping block each time where we put the budget forth. So COVID actually helped us out in that respect, that we were able to provide that service now. So it's an interesting time right now because of all the COVID stuff and the changes that we're having to make because of that. But they're all changes for the better. So we're making it more customer service friendly, and we're definitely looking forward to it.
So it sounds like COVID expedited the process almost.
It did, actually. It did. It helped us out, actually.
Okay. Well, another question is, not just yourself, but in general, why would anyone want to be the tax collector, just as a whole, Will?
Right. Well, and people have been telling me since I've been running, people don't care about the tax collector. I think they should care about the tax collector, because this is a very important position, because the tax collector has a whole lot of responsibility as far as taxpayer money and making sure it's done right and put in the right place and distributed correctly. But there's a huge responsibility of the budget. Now, I've been collecting taxes. I've been a public servant most of my career, more than 21 years. And my main mission right now is just to continue my public service. Okay. I consider myself a career public servant. I'm not a career politician. All I want to do is continue serving the residents, citizens, and taxpayers of Volusia County. I'm just changing roles. I'm moving in a different direction as far as the role is concerned. And I'm just really passionate about service. So I consider myself a servant leader. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity to continue my public service. So it's, anybody wanting to be the tax collector, we're usually not mentioned favorably in the Bible. That's what I tease people, is that, because when I usually mention that I'm running for tax collector and I come up to a table or something, they're like, oh, no, 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 not the tax collector. And I usually mention that phrase, but it's the right fit. I'm the right fit for this position. I've got the experience that's going to be necessary to make this a smooth, effective, and efficient transition. So that's why I stepped up and said I'm going to run, because we need somebody with experience in this position. We need somebody that knows what's going on. We don't have the time to do the on the job training. So that's why I filed. I wanted to run. I wanted to continue my public service, and I believe Volusia County deserves the best. I'm the best candidate for this position.
Okay, and maybe a myth you can clear up for some voters out there, and some of them wonder, are you going to lower our taxes?
Right. And that's always a good question. And technically I can't, but this is what I can do is I don't have to spend taxpayer money unwisely. And that can save the taxpayer money over time. If I'm doing my job the correct way, then I'm not going to be spending taxpayer money to where the county thinks they have to get more budget or pull in more millage, or pay more money to the tax collector because they're building new buildings or something to that nature, to where they're using the taxpayer money unwisely, or they're spending $3.5 million trying to learn how to do the job. That's where using taxpayer money unwisely does cost the taxpayer more money. And that's my goal. Is I'm very fiscally conservative. I don't want to spend any more taxpayer money than absolutely necessary. I know how to do more with less. I've been doing it my whole career. In the military, I did more with less. In corrections, I did more with less. In the tax office, I've done more with less. I'll give you this example. I'm using the same chair that I got there when I came back to the office in 2015. I use the same chair. I'll tell you, most of the time I make my own lunch. I go to lunch outside the office. I'm just fiscally conservative personally, but and I plan to use that same mentality when I come into office. I want to save taxpayer money as much as possible.
Okay. And what are some of the challenges you foresee as a tax collector, Will?
Well, some of the new services that we're going to be taking on are going to be a challenge because, for one, driver's licenses don't make money for the tax collector's office. We're actually going to be losing money because we only get like $1 off each driver's license that we process. So the other thing about the driver's license is that it's very controlled. So like all the equipment has to be bolted down to the desks, and the inventory has to be done on a daily basis. It has to be done in the morning, has to be done in the evening. So it's just a whole different experience with driver's license. So it's going to be challenging because we're going to have to make adjustments, that's for sure, in the offices, because we don't currently offer that service, and making that change is going to require some time, effort, energy. It's definitely going to take some work on our end and on the state's end, trying to get it transitioned over and get it moved. And as I mentioned, I'm trying to make it collaborative services, all services under one roof as much as possible. So I want you to be able to come to our office and get a concealed weapons permit, a birth certificate, a driver's license, and pay your property tax and your tag and title all right there in one location. Now, one of the things I want to mention about the concealed weapons permits, which is going to be a challenge as well, is that they've got specific rules and regulations about how you have to set up the office to accept those. The office has to have a separate entrance, and you have to have a separate space, and so that's just going to require work. It's just going to require maneuvering. We're just going to have to sit down with facilities and talk that out and see what we can do about getting our current buildings and get it ready for that type of service and what we're offering. So it's just going to be a lot of work. That's the biggest thing. Is it's going to be a lot of work. There's going to be a lot of challenges ahead. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. And again, that's where my experience comes in, and that's actually where my Florida Certified Assistant Tax Collector. I was certified through the Florida Department of Revenue Property Tax Oversight Division. They're the ones that provided that training, and I got an overview of all the information that I know about driver's licenses, because we don't currently have that in our office, but I've got a good grasp on driver's licenses and how they operate and how we're going to have to make changes to our office to be able to handle that. So I'm definitely looking forward to providing those services all under one roof, though.
Well, great, Will. And should you get elected, what are your plans going to be once you're elected?
Well, the biggest thing is working with the budget. My plan is day one, get in the ground, start working with the county, trying to find out how quickly we can make this conversion and transition. It's going to be a big process. It's going to be a long process, but it's not that long, because we only have from August 19th to January 5th. So we're going to have to work with the county. We're going to have to get on it. And day one, August 19th, we're going to have to get in the door and start working immediately on trying to get this transition going. Because there's a lot of work. There's a lot of contracts that have to be negotiated. We have to set up all the transition of services for the county and figure out how we're going to account for those. And we have to figure out the budget. Of course, the budget's going to be one of the biggest things that we're going to have to work with and try to figure out. And then, of course, we got to work with HR, because we're going to have to. So all the county employees that currently work for the county are going to have to apply for the position of the tax collector position. So we have to go through that. Even though I'm pretty sure most of the ones that are going to be from the county are going to go over to the tax collector's office, and it shouldn't be a problem. But we still have to go through the process. So it's going to take time, and we have to get that started. And I'm really looking forward to that part of the process, because it's going to be nice to be able to sit down and go over this transition and work with the county, work with the county HR, and get the people involved, and get those people on board and get them moving and working in the direction of the new tax collector position. So.
Oh, great. Now, what are some of your accomplishments, Will, that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the interesting things is, like I said, I don't really consider myself. I don't like to toot my own horn, is, I guess, the best way to describe it. What I like to do is acknowledge that the team that I work with is a very good team, and I feel that we're more accomplished as a team. And that's the things that I've been most proud of in the service. When we sent up 100 sorties a day in the Air Force and had 100 flights, and they all came back successful, and we had very little maintenance to do on those planes because they were well maintained, then that was the team. Personal accomplishment. I mean, I was good at what I did. They always liked me as a troubleshooter, because I'm a good troubleshooter. But we always did it as a team. I always loved doing it as a team. So in corrections, every day that everybody went home safe, and all the inmates were safe, and everybody was all in one piece, and that was always a good day. I was always happy about working and serving, and I felt that was even though it's an interesting position, I always felt that was a good customer relation situation, where I could show the inmates and the officers that I cared for them by being there and being able to express the things that we needed to get done, and we got them done, and we all went home at the end of the day, and everybody was safe. So I consider that an achievement right there, all in itself, is that we were able to make it home and make it safe, and everybody was well served well, I believe, during that day.
Yeah.
The tax office, I'll give you this example about customer service. So I've got a couple. I've never really met them, but I know them very well because I get an email from them every quarter. They're on installments, so that means they get a quarterly bill, and they email us every year or about 4 times a year, and I look forward to it. And my assumption is, I don't know them that well, but my assumption is that they're a retired couple, and they budget, and they budget very well, and that what they're trying to do is find out how much they need to spend on their tax every quarter. So I look forward to the email that they get, that they send, and their notes in their property tax, it's filled with emails that they sent to us, and it's I'm always happy to serve. I'm happy to serve in that capacity. I look forward to their email. I know it's coming. They reach out every quarter, and it's just neat to have that type of relationship that they know they can email me, and I'll give them the information as soon as I possibly can. So it's just the little things like that. But I consider myself a great customer service advocate, because here's the thing: you call my office and I look at your parcel and you don't have an exemption on there and you're living in the parcel, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to say, look, you need to contact the property appraiser's office as soon as possible, because if you're living in the parcel and you're eligible for the homestead exemption, then you need to get it taken care of as soon as possible, because the homestead exemption is actually a dual benefit. There's the benefit of you get to lower your assessment and lower your tax liability. But the other thing is that you get to take advantage of your taxes will not go up more than the 3% every year. So that is an outstanding benefit that you get to take care of. And a lot of people, new people that come in from out of state, they don't know about that. So it's always good to try to let those people know, hey, you need to, even if it's taken away from the tax base, if they're entitled to that homestead exemption, I want them to have it. I want them to be able to take advantage of that. And it's that type of customer service that I'm used to, and I'm used to providing, and I look forward to providing. And that's what you get when you call my office. I'm going to try to do the best I could possibly do for you. One of the biggest things that I've done over the last few years is that I did a redesign on the tax bill. We were kind of outdated. We hadn't updated the tax bill in about 10 to 12 years. And then in 2017, I got the opportunity to go down the list and look at our tax bill and make sure that it was Florida statute compliant. And I worked on that, and my team worked on that, and we got it to a position to where we're very pleased with it now. It's got a lot of information on there. It's putting together a tax bill on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. It does take a lot of work, takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of teamwork, and we were able to get that accomplished. And that's one of the biggest things that I feel that we as a team, as the property tax team and the tax office team, that I'm really proud of, that we've done over the last few years. And I really look forward to being able to continue to provide that service. And by the way, it will be changing after we get a tax collector, because that does actually change when we're coming out from underneath the umbrella. The tax bill will change a little bit.
Yeah, well, great. Well, and I have two things to say about accomplishments, and then we'll wrap it up. It's as Muhammad Ali likes to say, it's not bragging if you can back it up.
Right.
And I like to say too, is why brag when other people can do it for you?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So you've probably got the people of Volusia County saying that about you. So yes. As we wrap up, do you have any final words you'd like to tell our audience about that, just in general, as we wrap up today?
Yeah, just absolutely. One of the things I just want to say, I'm information. I'm available. If you have any tax questions, please give me a call. You can get my information online. I want people to be informed. That is the biggest thing about my office. I'm very transparent. I want to provide information. That's why I'm looking forward to the future and about continuing to provide public information about what's going on in the taxpayer office, and transparent about what I'm spending money on in the tax office. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Thank you very much for having me on, Fred. As always, it's an honor and a pleasure to see you. And
You as well, Will, and I'll see you soon, I'm sure. And
yes,
good
sir.
luck on your run, and I'll see you soon, sir. Have a
All
great
right.
day.
Thank you very much, Fred.
Bye bye.
Have
You're
a good one.
welcome. Bye bye.
Bye.